Okay, so linear regression and trend lines from data. So notice this is number of steps back and this is the time. I did use a set of data from last year just so that for the video purpose I had the same information or a set of data to look at videos with. You are going to just take notes over this, write this down, and tomorrow as a class we will do the linear regression for your class's data. So just make sure, just write this down, just plot this because this is going to be your example. Okay, so number of steps back go from 0 to 10. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then if you look at the time, it goes from 13 to 36.5. That's the highest. Now, something that I still keep seeing people do is they're just going to start this first line at 13. Remember, you can't do that because if you jump from 0 to 13 here, the next line would have to go from 13 to 26. So you need to skip or go by an amount that will reach all the way up to 36.5 and has to go by the same amount for each line. So if you need to get to 36.5, I would say a good thing is probably to go by fours. So if you go, and you can always, if you want to know for sure, count how many lines you have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do 10 just because you guys that use the graph stamp will only have 10 as well. So if you take 36.5 and divide by 10 lines, it says you need to go by 3.65. If you wanted to go exactly and get up to exactly 36.5, well, if I don't want to do that, I can just round it up. You can't round it down because if you rounded it down to 3, you wouldn't get to 36. So I'm going to round it up to 4, so I'm going to go by 4s. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. So 10 lines going by 4, you should get to 40. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and plot. So the first one is at 0, 13.4. So I'm going to go over to 0 and go up to 13.4. It's not going to be exact, so it's somewhere close to there. 1 is at 14.2, so just a little bit further up than that. 2 is at 17.6. 3 is at 17, so it went down just a little bit. 4 is at 18.1. 5 is at 20.2. 6 is at 23.2, so that's almost 24. 7 is at 24.5, so just a little bit up. 8 is at 26.5 or 26.2, I'm sorry. 9 is at 34.2 and 10 is at 36.5. So that is the data from, and this was actually my 7th hour from last year. So that is the data that we collected in the same ball activity that you just did. Now, when you do this, you're going to try to draw a straight line through as many of those points. Now, I'm not going to put it down here. I'm going to try to go through as many or touch as many of those points as possible. It would help if I had a see-through ruler. There we go. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw that line. And I want to be between, I don't want any of them to be super, super far off, but I also want to be as close to as many of them as I possibly can. So So I'm just going to go right there. And trend lines are never exact. So this is called the trend line. The trend line is an estimated line that best models a set of data. Okay, so that is our trend line. When we actually type this data into a calculator and it gives us an equation of a line, that's when it's called something a little bit different. So a trend line is just an estimate. A linear regression, and that's the new word that you probably have never heard before. Linear regression is the exact line that best models the data. And you use a calculator to find the linear regression. Okay. Now, if it correlates, or we use the word correlated is when the data appears to follow a linear pattern. Okay, it's called a, let me make sure you can see that, yeah. It's called a positive correlation. Oh, let me pause it for a second. So a positive correlation is when the points follow a line that rises from left to right. So if you look at the one that I'm just leaving this for a second so you can finish writing. So if you look at the one that we just did, notice it rises. So as you take more steps back, the time is increasing. Even just if it's just a little bit, as we took steps back, the time was going up. Okay, and then the last one, let me see if I can fit it on here, is a negative correlation. Is when the points follow a line that falls from left to right. So if it's going down, it's a negative correlation. As we took steps, maybe if we went the other way, if we were taking steps in, then our time should be decreasing. So it would be a negative correlation or negative slope of the trend line is another way to look at it. Okay, so those are the definitions that you need to know for linear regression. Tomorrow we will be running our regression, and that's this part, the linear regression for our actual classes. I'll probably do one video of using this data just so that everyone has it for anyone that's gone, and then we'll do it in class using the data that you collected as a class.